I recently found myself in a restaurant and I was presented with the typical question, what kind of water you would like, tap or bottled, sparkling or still. I gave the waiter my answer and he returned a few minutes later with a glass of water. I went to drink it and I noticed that there was a bug on the inside. So, expecting my right to clean water, I asked him to return it, please come back with a new one, and went on with my meal. But what would I have done if I was given this glass of water? Probably would have freaked out, written a really nasty Yelp review, and never returned again. What if I were to tell you that 1 billion people in the developing world lack access to clean water? That millions of mothers and their children each day walk miles and miles in the scorching heat just to receive water that looked exactly like the one I had just shown you. That if they were presented with the water that I had, just a bug in it, they would have hugged the stranger that had given it to them and thanked them for their generosity. UNICEF estimates that 3,000 children under the age of 5 die each day from waterborne disease. That means in the amount of time I've been speaking, 3 children have most likely already just died. Now, you are probably a little bit confused. How are we in a water crisis? When I think of the Earth, I think of a revolving sphere of blue, of water. But the reality is 97% of that is undrinkable. The 3% of that is drinkable, we have a really big competition over, and countries are trying to claim it because water is power. And over half of that is sitting in ice caps or glaciers, places that we can't really access it. 30% of that is in places where only certain people can access it because they have the finances to tap into the underground water. So what does that leave the poor countries with? 1% of easily accessible water. I say easily lightly because that's where we see mothers and children being forced to walk miles because they don't live in communities near these fresh waters or streams. So typically people think, okay, I hear water crisis, I need to solve it by showering for shorter periods of time or brushing my teeth and turning off the tap water. But that goes into only 8% of what we're using. The reality is that 70% of what we're using we don't necessarily see every day. It's in agricultural use or industrial use. And we're Americans, we like hamburgers, we like meat, but we're really wasting a lot of water with the food that we're choosing to eat because 1 kilogram of beef requires 13,000 liters of water. Now, to put that in perspective, 1 kilogram of potato requires only 100 liters of water. There are many organizations out there that understand this problem, and they're going to try to fix it and implement viable water sources in third world countries. So I'm going to tell you a story of a recent one. There was an organization that implemented a well in a city called Thane near Bombay. They implemented the well, and they taught everyone within the community how to use it, and then they went back a few months later expecting really positive outcomes. When they went back and they looked at the community, they realized that everyone was still sick. People were still dying of waterborne disease, and they were very confused. What happened? There was clean water that was accessible. When they talked to people in the community, they actually realized that they were choosing to drink the dirty water above the clean water, because to them, the dirty water had something that they were familiar with. It was something that they were tasting. That clean water was actually so foreign to them that it didn't taste good. To us, clean water tastes like nothing. Can you imagine clean water being so foreign? Another story I want to tell you really quickly is of a New York Times writer that went into a third world country and interviewed people. And she was sitting with a family that was in front of her, and it was a mother and some of her children. And she saw the mother feeding the children the dirty water and was so excited, and all the children were chugging it down like it was chocolate milk. Now picture this mother's smiling face when I tell you that 2 of her children had already died of waterborne disease. And she was being forced to continue to feed the rest of her children the exact thing that had already killed 2 of her own. The point of this isn't necessarily to present you all with these really haunting facts, though I do hope it does motivate you to reach out to some organizations and try to help. I want you to understand that something that seems so tasteless, that's something that is clear, that you don't really ever think about, you see it every day, is actually the most powerful tool out there. I never want you to underestimate the power of simplicity, and that water is actually a privilege and not a right. Thank you.